first ever Linn-designed drive units, a 6-inch upper bass and 8-inch woofer feature Linn's unique Pistonik motor system at their core. With it, these drivers deliver ultimate linearity across a huge excursion range, drastically reducing distortion, giving us the most accurate result available anywhere. Major innovations in Pistonik engineer out magnetic, mechanical and thermal factors that would otherwise conspire to defeat linearity. When integrated into a Linn loudspeaker, we really move a lot of air, but with absolute control. With Pistonik, these drive units deliver the widest, truly linear excursion of any low-frequency unit ever. Even when you drive your loudspeaker really hard, Pistonik is able to deliver all of the detail in the music. This is due to its flawlessly consistent force over the full range of travel. Pistonik is a very long stroke motor design with a specially extended magnet gap, and it gives us great linearity. But beyond that fundamental design, there are some key factors that need to be addressed if we're to ensure linearity from the entire system. These include magnetic, mechanical and thermal issues. Linearity implies speed, dynamism and low distortion. The Pistonik motor topology addresses this in its magnetic design. If we allow eddy currents to form, the result is magnetic drag, slowing the unit. We've reduced the impact of eddy currents by cladding the motor in copper and ensuring full magnetic saturation of all steel parts. If we want to maintain this high stroke, linear behaviour of the drive unit, we need to make sure that no air is getting trapped within the system. Over a very high excursion, the air behind the dust cap in front of the motor will become compressed. We have to give it an escape route. Similarly, the coil moving such a long way in its narrow voice coil gap, it needs to get the air out somewhere, otherwise the whole system will chuff and wheeze as you drive it hard. We've designed a triple layer ventilation system within the drive unit to allow this air to escape silently, so it doesn't affect the performance of the drive unit. Thermal compression in a motor system is a really important factor to monitor. As the voice coil temperature rises, it becomes a much more difficult load to drive with the amplifier and you lose dynamics in your music. Fortunately, with all the ventilation that we've discussed to reduce the effect of acoustic and mechanical compression, we have plenty of cool air rushing around the voice coil. That certainly helps to cool down the voice coil when it's in operation. In addition, we've got the full-length copper sleeve on the pole of the motor system. That really effectively wicks heat away from the coil and into the steel parts of the motor, maintaining a cool operating temperature for the voice coil. So all of these things are working together to improve the cooling of the unit, improve the cooling of the coil, and therefore the linearity of the drive unit. In the pursuit of perfect linearity, Pistonik motor really is thoroughly well conceived. All of the different elements that I've just described that manage the magnetic, mechanical and thermal behaviour of the drive unit, they work in unison, some with multiple purposes, all to make sure that nothing gets in the way of linearity. The basic structure is essentially a linear thing, but if we don't look after these three elements, we end up with a non-linear result. Pistonik is a truly linear motor system, but to get the complete linear drive unit, we also need a very advanced suspension system. We're fortunate at Linn, we design an integrated speaker called the Linn 360 here, and we know precisely the operating conditions our drive units are going to see. We know the acoustic loading of the drive unit, we know the amplifier power that's driving it. And our desire is that we can use all of that amplifier and keep the driver in its linear range. We're in a pretty unique position in the industry. We design complete systems. In an integrated system such as the 360, we know the operating volume, we know the exact acoustic loading of the drive units, and we know the power of the amplifier that's driving it. This gives us a huge benefit. We know the limits of what the driver is going to be given, so we can design the suspension and the motor together to give us the maximum linearity over that full usable range, and only then very carefully and quite abruptly, in fact, apply the brakes to the drive unit. With the suspension system, we want to mirror the linear behaviour of the drive unit. What's enabled us to do that is our use of advanced multi-physics simulation tools. We can look at the suspension not only in its linear elastic range, but what happens when you stretch that to its limits and it goes non-linear. What that has allowed us to do is to produce a very broad, consistent stiffness in the suspension system out to the extremes of what the amplifier is going to deliver, and only then does the suspension system apply the brakes and stop the drive unit from over-excurting. But to be honest, with the amplifiers that we have in there, we should never reach that point. The result overall with Pistonik and the suspension system is a truly linear motion over the full operating conditions of the driver. So for our new drive units, the 6-inch upper bass and the 8-inch woofer, we've selected aluminium for the diaphragms. It's a very stiff material, so it helps us to push breakup modes up out of the operating band. It's also quite light, so we maintain a good efficiency from the units. With that pushed out of the operating band, most would be perfectly happy with that. That's great, that's a quiet drive unit, you're not going to hear the breakup. We've decided to go a little bit further than that, so we've very carefully optimised precisely where the surround couples onto that aluminium cone. And what that gives us is a reduction in the strength of the first mode. It pushes that first breakup mode slightly higher in frequency and reduces its magnitude by an order of magnitude. It is so much quieter, that first resonance. So even though it's out of band, it is notionally in the crossover region. It does bring audible benefits. It just gives you more precision, more accuracy in the music that you hear. In order to manufacture drive units such as these, which have such tremendous long throw and such impeccable linearity, we kind of had to reinvent the manufacturing process. We've added a number of extra jigging stages to what would normally go into drive unit assembly to guarantee precision alignment of everything within the driver. The slightly unexpected result of that is that we now have one of the most consistent, in fact the most consistent drive unit I have ever seen in my career. And that consistency is measured consistency, is breakup consistency, is everything that you want from a drive unit. One behaves the same as another, behaves the same as another. Add to that we deploy these in our Exakt loudspeakers, where we take consistency even further. Every drive unit is measured in our factory before assembly into the loudspeaker. That measurement data is collected and stored in the cloud against the serial number of the speaker it will go into. When you deploy the speakers in your home, we take the target acoustic response and the measurements of each individual driver, and we put those together to produce a crossover that lives in your loudspeaker that is unique to your loudspeaker. No other loudspeaker will have the same crossover as you. But the result of that is that every drive unit in this system will operate within 1/16 of a dB of our reference designed unit. You have the reference loudspeaker in your living room. We've pushed the performance of our first ever Linn-designed drive units to the very edge of what is possible. This is a freedom earned through a complete understanding of how the drive units will operate within our systems. Our proprietary Exakt technology ensures your loudspeaker performs precisely as designed. With our drive units, we have meticulously designed the aluminium diaphragms to ensure all breakup is out of audibility. An advanced suspension system closely mirrors the linearity of the Pistonik motor system, ensuring that extreme excursion remains linear and controlled. At the core, our unique Pistonik motor system delivers flawless linear force across a huge excursion range. Immune to magnetic, mechanical and thermal factors, every element works together at the service of ultimate linearity. These 6-inch upper bass and 8-inch woofer units redefine the state of the art, delivering deeper, cleaner, more controlled bass with total accuracy over the widest truly linear excursion range of any low-frequency drive unit.